Hi, this is Swamya Sarkar from Wealth Redefine. We are starting another podcast with another person called Mr. Arham Partap Jain. Till now, you have seen that we have done a podcast with fund managers and CEOs of the mutual fund industry. But today we thought that we should bring someone who has been an investor. So, how investment journey actually happens through investors' way, that probably can be unleashed with this conversation. I know Mr. Jain since long, since I think in 2018 when we first met, and he and his family has been steady investors with us since then. The reason I wanted to do this podcast with him is he is not only an investor, but also he is an entrepreneur. He is a co-founder of different companies, as well as he has some ideas which are going to change the way right now the world is. Mr. Jain has started a company called Trucknetic, which going to reduce the timing of the trucks and how to use it with the full capacity. Thank you, Mr. Jain, for coming here.
Thank you, Swami.
And give this time. I know you are a very busy person. If you can slightly brief about yourself, what has been your journey?
Sure.
And when you started this company?
So for me, the journey was quite colorful. I mean, the expectation from me while I was growing up was very different. I think it was a very steady path that people around me, my family, have thought through, but it wasn't supposed to be the way it was. So I grew up in a very small town village till ninth standard, where till 13, 14 years of my age, I grew up there, studied there, where Hindi was the first language. Post that, sort of, we moved to Delhi, which was a great opportunity because my father was setting up the business. And then once he was more settled, he came to Delhi. So things have been very, very different from that first pivot, how I saw my life over there in Delhi versus I'm like in that village versus coming to a metro city like Delhi. It was something that gave me some kind of shock on levels, as in how people think. Though my aspirations at that time was to kind of become an engineer and perhaps gravitated more towards computer engineering and then move to US, or the other way that my family was thinking is to go into the bureaucracy because of our family history, where most of my family is into bureaucracy apart from being into services. But for me, it was very different. Though I did my engineering, but while I was doing mechanical engineering, which was my first interest, while I was growing up, coming to Delhi, understanding myself better, I actually happened to kind of, really got bitten by the bug of entrepreneurship. And for me, it just came out of nowhere. I wasn't even aware of the term entrepreneurship while I joined college. But as I was reading a lot more about things, seeing people making up big in life, not in terms of just making wealth, but in terms of how they were able to solve, the problems which were real, or to kind of make or move the world in a better direction. So those were very, very inspiring for me, reading about likes of Bill Gates at that point in time and few other entrepreneurs. I think Mark Zuckerberg was somebody who's already started Facebook at that point in time when I was still in college or before that. So it really gave me an aspiration of, doing something similar, but I was not very sure of what needs to be done and how to start off the journey. One thing happened to me while I was in college. One non-profit organization came to us, in the college, and wanted some volunteers, for ushering the kids. They were orphan kids, represent being a part of a non-government organization. So all of those things happened, and it really helped me out to kind of understand where I need to start. And I joined social impact sector as an entrepreneur, where I started my first non-profit organization straight out of college. Though I had interest in other fields of mechanical engineering, which I did, making F1 supercar or winning the robot wars competition by making robots. But more so, I really sort of, got gravitated towards social impact sector. I stayed there for 5 years in my career, donning different hats. One of the things we did was helping people who were not so privileged below poverty line in getting them socially and financially included. And we were really happy when that manifested into becoming something very big, which was Jan Dhan Yojana when BJP came in power in 2014. So that gave wings to what we were doing. Also, Unilever North America made a documentary on us. We represented UN, India in UN as well, did multiple fellowships based out of US, UK. I worked there in California for about 6 to 8 months. Studied at Stanford University during that time. After the stint of 5.5 years, I actually was like, okay, I'm too much involved into operations and all. I need to see the other side of the lens because it's gonna give me a holistic picture. Because just being in a social impact world, you always think about non-capitalist side of the things, right? It's more socialist kind of a mentality that you develop. So it happened, to me that I become a part of an investment bank where I spent close to 3.5 years helping companies, specifically the OEMs in auto space, because that was my forte coming from mechanical engineering, in doing mergers and acquisitions, in raising funds, doing private equity, listing the companies, so on and so forth. So that gave me a lot of exposure. In the tail end of my stint at this investment bank, I happened to advise a lot of companies like Tata Motors, Mahindra, Eicher Motors, Escorts, which were primarily into manufacturing of commercial vehicles. And that's one of the reasons for me that I actually happened to kind of go deeper into trucking. Where when I started reading a lot of reports around that, I figured that there's a wide space and something can be done. And because of my exposure of US, I saw Uber and Ola, Uber and Lyft back there. And while I was in Bangalore, I got to know about Ola coming in and Uber in 2014. So somehow my brain tried to kind of connect both the things and wanted to do something where we can do Uber for trucks in India. So that feeling became stronger as I was still working, with this bank. So, but then after a point in time, that entrepreneurship bug came again, 100% occupied all my thought process, and I have to quit. I quit around in 2018. But before I started the company, I was sure that I want to understand the sector pretty well from bottom up. And because of me representing social impact sector, we have developed softer skills like human-centered design skills, empathy and all. And it was very important to understand the market from ground up, to talk to the truck drivers, fleet owners. So I spent close to 6-8 months doing that, living with them, eating with them, understanding how they have been doing businesses. And once I got some kind of hypothesis about what needs to be done, I started the company in September 2019. So it's been more than 4 years now.
Yeah. So when we met at the first time, that point of time you were in a planning to start it.
Yeah. So because 2018 was the time I quit the job, and that was the time I was still understanding the space to start off Trucknetic.
So Trucknetic, what exactly it does and how it can become the truck Uber or Ola for India?
Correct.
Because you have discussed it quite a few times, but I want to know this time from horse's mouth. What was the thought process? How the journey till now?
Sure.
And what exactly it is going to impact?
So Trucknetic, is India's first truck booking marketplace, which is redefining the way goods move with a touch of a button. In a very simple language, what we are trying to do is to make trucking as simple as booking a cab or getting the food from food delivery apps, perhaps like Zomato and Swiggy here in India. And at the back end, what we are focusing on, there are a lot of inefficiencies in the logistics in India particularly. Starting from the cost of logistics, it's around 16% of GDP as compared to 8 to 10% globally, if you would see. So there is a huge delta of around 6%, majorly attributed because of the demand supply mismatch. I mean, like some percentage goes towards the regulation and infrastructure that we do have, but I think government is quite catching up on that, with GST coming in, e-way bill becoming mandatory, or fast tags and stuff like that. And with I think new highways getting built and all. So I think those are the things which government is taking care of well, and also new policies that are coming in. But demand supply mismatch is still a bigger problem, which sort of makes India to spend more than $50 billion annually. So giving you just a very brief about how big the industry is. Currently it's $400 billion, and probably by 2030 it will gonna touch $600 billion mark, because we could see a lot of e-commerce and quick commerce companies coming in. So with that, last mile logistics will increase. So that's the idea of Trucknetic. Trucknetic wants to, at the front end, make trucking as seamless as booking a cab, like where anybody can just come on an app, would know that okay, this is the requirement they have. They just book the truck. They would have the freight in front of them, and that's the freight on which the driver will gonna come, where they would entirely trust Trucknetic that their load will be secured, which we do with the help of transit insurance as well, which sort of covers their goods while it is in transit, but in terms of any losses. So that's the basic idea. And at the back end, what we are doing is we are trying to kind of solve for reducing the cost of logistics in the country to a single digit. And we were glad that last year his honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced the same thing, where on his 72nd birthday, in fact, he introduced national logistics policy, where they could see that after that how UPI was successful, and currently they are working on ONDC similarly, and the next thing that they want to pick up is NLP, because that is one of the hindrances for India to achieve $5 trillion in economy, which they want to achieve in 2030. So the cost of logistics, government of India is also now advocating that it should come down to 7% from current 14.5 to 16%. So this is what we are trying to do. And one extra element that we have added is we want to do this by actually achieving net zero targets, which again India has announced globally in COP26 summit at Paris.
Yeah, but if you talk about the truck business, as I understand it, that I may be wrong, you correct me if I am wrong, but it is more of a muscle man business and all those things. It's previously was, because I recently had spoken to one of the owner of a transport company, and he said, the truck is going from Delhi to West Bengal, and the truck driver suddenly said that there is no fuel, there is nothing, this problem, that problem. So these kind of problems do come, or it is not your responsibility? The work is only to just to connect the people and end of the story, not taking care of. Sometimes it may happen that the person gets drunk, or he's driving at over speed limit or something like that. So these problems comes in, or it's just a...
Sure. So, I mean, like when it comes to Trucknetic, we are not just a matchmaking company. We do end-to-end service, but we have to understand that we are not also a trucking company or a transport company. We are a tech-first logistics company. We are product company more than conventional trucking company. But it doesn't mean that we don't take responsibility of delivering the goods, or the idea is not to just matchmake. I 100% agree on what the fellow transporter would have said. There are problems, so that's why when it comes to Trucknetic, for us, we don't say that we are a 100% tech-based company. We say that we are a product-first company. We are a tech-first company. So it means that it has two components. One is product and tech, which gives you a seamless experience in booking, which gives you transparency in understanding the right freight, which gives you transparency in reducing the lead time of getting a truck to you, or perhaps reduce the turnaround time. But then there is another component to it, which is called operations, which is also equally important. Like for example, just to put an analogy of Uber, people come to Uber not just because how easy it is to book a cab on Uber, but also because once the driver comes in, they kind of reach from point A to point B in a stipulated time with the transparent freight. So that is also very, very important for us, and we take all the measures. It's a very difficult industry, as you have rightly said. So that's what we are doing is, we are not trying to kind of become transporters ourselves. Our idea is to become a platform where we are working from an ecosystem lens and trying to empower everybody which is already there. So for example, this transporter would be not something that we're going to take away business from this guy and try to kind of become our transporter ourselves. Rather, we're going to empower this transporter by helping him out in the things that he doesn't have. For example, that security. So we'll add an extra layer of security through technology. Like if somebody's saying that they're out of fuel, so we're going to connect to the nearest fuel station to them through technology onto the maps. Or if somebody is doing fuel pilferage, we're going to put in the fuel sensors onto the tank. So we take the responsibility not as a platform, but just because to kind of give that coverage. So we don't take onus directly on us. In our terms and conditions, we have stated that clearly, like we are a platform, we do take platform services fee. So we are not your transporter or we are not the shipper. But having said that, we create that layer of additional security in all different things, which sort of, hedges the risk of a trip to reach to the end location. And the idea is to kind of take along all the stakeholders with us, not trying to eradicate anybody, but regulate everybody and empower them with all the right technology and tools, so that we can become a one-stop platform for anybody. Like for example, if somebody would have a client that they are catering to right now, would be more comfortable not working with the client but via Trucknetic.
Yes.
So that is the idea going forward, rather than trying to kind of create our own space.
Okay. Now, you have been to a lot of angel investing also.
Correct.
So, you have done a lot of investment into different companies and everything. Can you brief about slightly about angel investing, number one? Second is, when you are an angel investor, is it the idea which is more important, or is it the execution of that idea which is more important? Suppose the idea is normal.
Got it.
But execution is superb. That you should see it, or you should see the idea which can change the generation.
Sure. So angel investment for me, was something that started off along with my entrepreneurship journey. And I think it's something that, giving back to the entrepreneurship ecosystem in a way. I love to invest. I mean, like, whether it's public markets along with Wealth Redefine or otherwise as well, not just in India, but everywhere else as well. But for me, angel investing is very, very close to my heart. I don't actually, just see one variable, which generally I see in public markets, which is profit. Over here, I have multiple responsibilities that come with. I also advise a lot of startups, who I invest in. So for me, Soumya, to be very honest, my rationale to invest in a company are multifold. First of all, I don't invest in anything that I don't understand. That's very, very preliminary for me. I cannot put in any money behind anything that I don't know. I only be comfortable in things that I can understand deeply, because if I would understand something deeply, I can really help that guy. Secondly, for me, I have divided angel investments for myself into two different genres in a way. One is where I am not either focused too much on an idea or execution at that point stage, but the person who is behind that. Because sometimes what happens is, like for example, if somebody would have invested in me on XYZ, but he knows that I'll be persistent enough to make something out of, because I have that kind of a mindset of not giving up, whether this idea or something else. So I would rather try to kind of, invest behind the entrepreneur rather than an idea or an execution at that stage at least. Because it's very, very basic, because angel investments comes before the seed investment, where the VCs or angel networks come in. So at that point in time, most of the times you don't even have a product market fit. So execution doesn't matter that much, because you haven't got a chance to do that at scale, because you're still trying to kind of evaluate how your idea is fitting according to the market. The second, where I also think about money. In this first stage, I don't think about money at all. In this first thing, I think about giving it to the society, because I also felt helpless, to be very, very honest. Though I have started off my journey being a social entrepreneur way back in 2012. Even then, when I started Trucknetic, it was very hard. I felt really lonely, because I didn't have any friends from the ecosystem. 2018 till 2018, I was doing investment banking. Everybody was thinking from a corporate lens or trying to get into JP Morgan's or Morgan Stanley's where they were. So it was very, very lonely. I didn't know who to kind of approach to. So I don't want all other entrepreneurs to kind of be in the similar boat. I also happen to run this smaller company called Savir Ventures, through which I not just invest but I also help entrepreneurs in a 0 to 1 journey. That is more important, right? 1 to n is a scale up, but 0 to 1 is a journey which definitely entrepreneur would lead, the one who is particularly behind that idea. But there are a lot of things that perhaps he doesn't need to do it and fail at it to do it. And the second one where I invest is perhaps post Series A, in a smaller capacity like an angel, but with the bigger VCs along with them, which again helps me to kind of de-risk myself, or and perhaps even the returns might not be that high, like because in Series B you would not expect like 1,000 times return, right, as compared to if you would put in a pre-Series A or a seed and before that. But that's purely because that is where I want to kind of double down on to that growth trend of a investment. So there generally I think startups are sorted enough not to take my advice, and I think I won't have enough capability as well to help them out. So over there my main objective is to kind of ride on to that wave of that particular startup who's really doing well, where I can't invest in a public market like a same company. Like for example, if I talk about EV companies, so I couldn't have enough players in my mind who are listed where I can invest money to kind of catch on to the wave of EV.
Yes.
But there would be few established players in Series B, Series C funding, where I can put in smaller checks to kind of get a good return there.
Yes. So, because you are already been an entrepreneur as well as you are an angel investor into startups, you are also developing personal portfolio.
Correct.
So, what was the goal behind it? It is the goal that, is it a retirement planning, or it is just putting the money so that it can be used when there is a crisis comes in or something, or just to encash the growing economy of India? So, what was the goal behind it?
Sure. I mean, like, to be very honest, my goal wasn't about a safety net, to be very honest. Neither I have any objectives in mind which I was saving for or investing towards. For me, I think it's a very simple story. It takes decades or centuries to build Reliance, but you can still become a shareholder and could see that growth that they are being at. So I enjoy, because currently, I mean, like, India has been such a country. I mean, like, talking about India, I think I have to start off. India is the story that hasn't been heard yet. 21st century belongs to India. It's not just India's one decade, India's century. I think by 2047, where we're gonna close 100 years of independence, will be the biggest economy in the world, clocking more than 45 trillion dollars, which I think have been stated by Mukesh Ambani, followed by Gautam Adani as well. So for me,
So, Goldman Sachs will come with a report. 2075, 2070 to 75,
okay.
we will cross US in terms of economy.
But I strongly believe, I think we'll do it before that. Before that, I think 100 years of us, we're gonna be the number one economy.
And another interesting story which I know, which has been quoted by Mr. Uday Kotak, that if India can execute well in the plans, probably the hegemony of dollar may not be there,
100%.
which is one of the great power of US,
Correct.
that they have the dollar.
So I think that's how we are moving towards as well, where I think India will gonna get very bolstered. I think with the the new index, where I think Indian economy has been sort of added by the JP Morgan committee, which is one of the reasons for our that cushion of now we can get the right debt. Also the private players like Geo Financial Services, partnering with the giants like BlackRock, who has asset under management of more than $7 trillion, where they can pump in as much capital as we would require. So the cost of capital will become cheaper, And I think that is one of the greater signs for us to, start businesses, thrive in that. Interest rates will gonna go down. I think it's gonna take some time. It won't take it in a day's time, but I believe so. So for me, I think giving you a short answer, I really is vested in India. I mean, like there were so many opportunities for me at that point in time to settle outside India, but I think that was one of the best decisions in my life, not to kind of go out
So
of
a lot of
India.
entrepreneurs are saying the same thing.
So this is one of the best opportunities. This is the best time. I think I'm 33 right now, and I believe that I have some kind of experience now being in the industry or seeing India. So I'm at the helm of that India's growth and want to double down onto that progress and want to participate not just as like a backbencher, just seeing the news of oh, India has reached here, but also try to participate in whatever capacity I can, or also doubling down onto all my efforts so that I can really contribute towards that mission of India to become the largest economy in the world.
So if we look at your personal front, you are mostly investing through SIP mode, and systematic investment plan is rapidly increasing in India. So when we met in 2018, that point of time I suggested, but that point of time the industry's SIP book was something around 2,500 crore, 3,000 crore.
Right.
Today it is 17,000 crore. So people are unleashing the opportunity which they can get through SIP way. And you have been a consistent SIP investor, rather than you are a putting lump sum investor, you mostly invested through SIP.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Can you highlight more on this, that why you choose, you could have done lump sum also, but why you choose to be on the SIP mode?
I mean, like I'm a great fan of Charlie Munger, and then definitely I'm like, people always talk about Warren Buffett, but I think Charlie Munger is the brain behind Berkshire Hathaway in a way. So I mean, like everyone can make money. It's about everybody wants to make money faster, and then nobody makes money that way. So for me, I think consistency is one of the things which definitely can really build your portfolio from. I mean, like I'm a student of engineering, right? Like maths was my favorite subject, so it's very easy for even a naysayer, to understand that compounding really works, and nobody can time the market. So that's stupid if somebody thinks that. Even Warren Buffett echoes with that, right? Like whoever thinks that they could time the market, they're the one who dooms to fail. So SIP is one of the safest instrument, I would say, where you don't have to think through too much. I mean, like I think one of the strategy that really put into use, and courtesy to Rishabh and you, Soumya, that dumbbell strategy is what I like.
Yeah.
I try to kind of majorly kind of invest in small caps which has a potential to grow faster, and then blue chips, avoiding mid cap route. So, and you don't have to kind of you back in indices, right? And you have seen that India's growth has always been there, right? Like there weren't sharp declines in Nifty and Sensex. I think for a brief period, because of 2008 or COVID and stuff like that, but that was even way below than the global average at that point in time. India is one of those stable economies which doesn't sort of go as down as global economy, right? So India is creating its own. I think domestic investors are coming in. So I think SIP for me was one of the safest instruments where I don't have to put in a lot of mind. Also, it's like a blended average of a lot of indices rather than trying to kind of double down on one stock. So sectoral exposure, and also with a lens of like if it's a large cap, mid cap, or a small cap, I think it gives you an advantage. And then consistently investing really helps you to reap those awards for the longer term. So those were the reasons for me to go behind SIP.
2018 when we did, after that in 2020 when market crashed almost 40% and everybody was panicking, but I have seen, because managing your family portfolio, I have seen neither you are panicking nor anybody of your family members were panicking, and you kept on telling us that yes, we have the faith of Indian market and it will eventually bounce back,
right?
Which actually did, and it has not only bounced back from that level, it has bounced back becoming almost 3 times what the level was that point of time. So is what the only the faith which kept on going you, or you saw the fundamentals of Indian economy, that interest rate has come to zero, lot of money has been flowing all over the globe?
I mean, like, definitely one of the things. So we weren't scared at all because I think these are few, what do you call as incidents that are bound to happen, and it wasn't the first time that it had happened, right? Like every time you would see, some kind of epidemic, pandemic, recession, depression, they come in, they go. Being an entrepreneur, I understand that, if you would see every single time when the depression happens or a recession happens, you see economy produce a lot of capital, right? Or try to kind of accommodate newer things, right? Like Uber as an idea, Airbnb as an idea, both are more than $100 billion companies now, came out of 2008 recession because at that point in time people were thinking of shared economy,
Yeah.
which became the next norm for even today. Like now, shared is more like a gig economy where people want to kind of work by themselves, without going to office and stuff like that. But so those are, for me, chances of investment. I always want to double down at that point in time. I think that was time when I was very new. Otherwise, I would have really could have gone even deeper. I mean, like, though I didn't, I think, invest a lot of lump sum in SIP, but I was really behind blue chip stocks. So I really got a good portfolio at that point in time when it comes to my direct investing in stocks. So for me, I think it wasn't like scary at all. We believe in fundamentals. I think we don't do anything for a short term anyways, because it is our investment goals are not aligned for the short term. At least I can talk about myself, less of family, but I can talk about myself for sure. So in that sense, whenever you are not doing anything for short term, so anything that happens in short term doesn't affect you. For me, it was just a mere opportunity.
So you have encashed that opportunity.
I could have done it better now in the hindsight, but yeah, I could try. I mean, like, whatever exposure I had at that point in time, if I would have been today, I think if the pandemic would have come in today, I would be more prepared than I was to kind of invest more.
So when I was going through some of the big investors' journey, they are now, I am seeing that they are saying that they are now snubbing real estate as an investor, and they are more of a startup funding, they are more of a equity market, they are more of a mutual funds and all those kind of thing, but not that much into real estate. Do you think that Indian investors have started, especially the young investors, not the old investors who still has the preferred destination as one of the real estate,
Right.
but new age investors are preferring more of a equity market, a capital market, startup funding, rather than real estate investment?
I think definitely, I mean, like, partially it is right. I think the newer investors are gravitating not just in this alternate investments like mutual funds and stocks, but also I think there was a time when crypto and NFT became the big thing. I think it was just a fluke at that point in time, at least. I mean, like, but I could see going forward also it has a lot of potential because I think cryptos and NFTs are not dying down anytime soon, right? So at that point in time, I think people weren't aware of what the use cases, but so they have to go back to the drawing board. But I think it's one of the ways through which the economy will move. I definitely see, if I talk about generic situation, people are investing less in real estate because opportunities were also tied up, right? Like today I can invest with Grow and these companies coming in as less as 100 rupees towards stocks or towards mutual funds, right, where I can take fractional stocks as well. So this gives more opportunity for people who are not earning that much. Also, I think with a lot of influencers, financial influencers coming in, people are more aware of it. I think still a lot of people miss basics. I mean, like the current population or Gen Zs or millennials, to say so to say. But I think the trend will soon kind of catch up to it, where I think real estate might not be a real estate kind of a situation. I think back in the day, also the flow of cash was more.
Cash was one of the main.
Yeah, so that was one of the reasons where people have to kind of invest somewhere, dispose their indispensable income, right, to kind of save taxes and so on and so forth. But today I think though the trend is declining, but I think it's going to pick again, but not in the way it was before. So REIT is one of the ways through which people would invest, through the ETFs. Uh, Another thing that I've been hearing a lot in, which is I think prevalent in US already, where like if you have to buy an apartment, so there'll be 1,000 people buying the same apartment. So you have to kind of put in X amount of capital, buy 1,000 now as compared to the entire X.
Yeah.
And you'll be a owner, you're going to give the similar percentage of ownership around that. So I think that is how people would. I think real estate is here to stay. Real estate has made a lot of millionaires, if not billionaires, in the last few decades, and I think that will gonna go along as well. But the mode of investment would change towards like real estate now.
So you have been to Wealth Redefine since I think 5-6 years now. How Wealth Redefine has shaped your investment journey, and how do you like to?
I think it was a beautiful experience from day one. I think, Soumya, I really remember. Like coming from investment banking, I myself was, reluctant of, wealth managers, to be very honest, because, have seen that we have got a lot of people before that as well. But majorly their inclination is towards making their own, gains out of whatever XYZ things they do tell. But it was very refreshing when I talked to you for the first time. I think I remember, I think it was Dad's office, if I could remember vaguely. We happened to discuss, I was though sitting out of the corner working out of the laptop and wasn't very interested in the beginning. But when I started hearing you, we spoke for quite a while at a single stretch. And I think post that the journey has always been, wonderful. I think you have an amazing team. Rishabh has been my, peer in a way, right? Like I go to him for everything that I have in mind in terms of if I'm thinking like something can be done better. And whenever we have interacted, in our offices, respectively, it's always humbling experience. Haven't seen nicer people, in the industry. And it's not just about, trying to kind of convince me on anything. It's always like, always feel that it's like you are an extension of my wealth, right? Like it's not just, you are helping me to handle X amount of money, but it's like you are the part of the same family, So that is really, really refreshing and supporting. And I think, there's no doubt about that. And I think it's always good to kind of, work with you guys. And I'm looking out for, more options to come and more opportunities going forward. And I wish you best of the luck to so that, like you could exercise more things which definitely could be beneficial for me and then perhaps the family as well.
Thank you for giving appreciating words. We have been trying best not only to you but also every clients which we handle. And as you have already given so many references for us, so definitely it is that faith itself tells that yes, you trust us and you have been regularly in touch with us, and also with your other busy schedule and everything, you have been constantly evaluating these things. Thank you, Mr. Jain, for giving us this podcast. We came to know a lot of things. So as an investor, you can not only think about one kind of investment, but also different kind of investment, how risk to be assessed, how actually personal investment gives you the better opportunity while developing a company and everything. Thank you for watching us. We will come with a lot of podcasts like this in future. Thank you, Mr. Jain, for coming here and give us this podcast.
Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.